This is the iPhone 6s, hands down one of Apple's best iPhones they have ever made. And even today in 2021, I still kinda love it for many reasons. But should you get one for your own use in 2021? Let's find out. One question I often get: how much does the iPhone 6s or iPhone 6s Plus often cost in 2021? Well, it depends. There's 4 storage options: 16, 32, 64 or 128. So here are the prices for pristine condition, which means there's no damage to the phone. For the 16GB model, the 6s costs about $60, 6s Plus for $80, 32GB model $70 and $100, and 64GB model, this is the one that I recommend the most. For the 6s it will be $80 and for the 6s Plus it will be $120. But for the 128GB model, you have to pay extra $30 to $110, and for the 6s Plus $170, that's a $50 price gap. So basically the 64GB model is the sweet spot. I recommend everyone going for that if you're considering the 6s. So this is the space gray iPhone 6s that I have. The whole chassis of this phone is made out of aluminium, 7000 series aluminium, which is one step ahead of the iPhone 6, which suffered badly due to bandgate issues. And a good thing about this is that at the bottom you do get a headphone jack. It's the last iPhone to have a headphone jack. The design is rather simple and it doesn't really look that good, to be honest, at the back. On the front, however, we do get a signature iPhone layout with the home button below with 2nd gen Touch ID, top with the speaker grill and Touch ID and the front facing camera. The display is a bit disappointing. It's a 720p display LCD and it's not that vibrant or anything, and it also suffers a bit from harsh viewing angles and bright lighting. While the display is considered bad, the camera is actually very capable and probably in 2021 is still pretty good. I mean, it produces 12 megapixel photos and it's nowhere near as good as the S21 camera system, but it is reliable only in good conditions. When you have terrible conditions, this camera system will just fall apart. Just look at this photo. The harsh backlight caused this phone to suffer in dynamic range and it resulted in the back severely washed out. Although the background is washed out, the front is still okay and it gets pretty detailed. Overall, a pretty good camera system even in 2021. It's pretty reliable overall. And for video, you can shoot in 4K at 30fps, but I will only recommend up to 1080p as this phone shoots terrible 4K. In 4K, each frame just falls apart like this, and even the EIS is not able to compensate it. On the front camera, it's also very reliable and it's pretty good. Look at the result. An amazing fact is that the iPhone 6s managed to get iOS 14, although this is the last update it might see. But it's still very incredible, after 6 years it still gets the update. But however, I would not recommend it if you're on iOS 13 to upgrade to 14. As when I upgraded mine, I realized a notable lack of power. I think Apple has throttled down with the speeds. So yes, you start to feel a bit of lag when you play some games, cause this is an old chip and Apple just reduced the power even more, so the battery will not drain too quickly. But I'm not a fan of that. Apple should let us choose whether we want more power or want better battery life. I think the decision should be up to us instead of them. I already know that light power games like Subway Surfers or Temple Run or Candy Crush will run fine on this phone. But for middle intensity games, Clash of Clans runs fine. But the problem comes to heavy games like Call of Duty Mobile. It's nothing too major, it's just that the lack of frame rate, like I feel the frame rate dropping to about 15 frames per second, which is really not very smooth, and other than that it's pretty okay. What's not okay is the battery life on this phone. It's terrible. After 5 years of battery degradation, we have 72% of battery health left. What can you do with 100% of battery? You can watch YouTube for 2 hours or play COD Mobile for about 45 minutes to an hour. I will not recommend this even to light users, as this battery really can't hold up. Like even if you're a light user, I did test out in the best case scenario, I need to plug in my phone by 1 PM, which is really a shame. I need to charge my phone 3 times in 1 day of use if I'm a light user. If you're a heavy user, then just forget about this phone and maybe want to consider the 6s Plus only, because the 6s Plus have battery that is much better. Like you can watch YouTube for 3.5 to 4 hours, play COD Mobile for about 2 hours to 2.5 hours. And if you're a light user, I can comfortably say that the battery will last you until 4 to 5 PM. And there's a few other more reasons apart from better battery life by quite a bit, is that the iPhone 6s Plus have optical image stabilization also. which is a physical module that helps you stabilize your videos or even taking photos much better. If you are considering between the 6S and 7, I would say the 6S is a much better deal because you get to save $50 and you don't really lose anything out. And the 6S Plus versus 7 Plus, I think the 7 Plus is only when you need an extra zoom 2x telephoto camera. Other than that, I highly recommend the 64GB model of the iPhone 6S/6S Plus a lot, especially for someone looking at the iPhone at this price point. With that being said, thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one.